Hello, hi, and welcome everyone. Today we'll be drawing some melee weapons for people working on Combat Extended. That's right. We'll be essentially retexturing some of the older textures they had in the melee add-on for Combat Extended. This tutorial will cover everything from making simple Neolithic and medieval weapons to working on spacer weapons as well. I will show you how to do the masks for weapons, so you can, for example, have the handle not colored by the material color in game and only have the blade colored. So let's begin. So I set up a little document with all the old textures that they had, just so we can see exactly what weapon we're retexturing. I usually do that. You set up a document with a lot of different artboards and then you just paste a lot of reference images. The more reference images it is, the better. It's important to know that you can't really just, trace an existing image fully. It's better if you have like 2 or 3 different reference images and take elements from each of them, because then essentially you're making something very unique. So we'll start off with doing their glaive, or well, exactly, they asked me to change the glaive into a halberd, so I found a little picture of a halberd online. I did know how it looks like, I just need to see it in front of me if I want to draw it. So let's copy the color from some of the vanilla weapons, maybe the vanilla spear, and let's make the handle. Now the handle is grey with dark grey, only the blade is white, and that is because the game will color everything according to the stuff it's made out of. So the plasteel one will be bluish, will have this bluish tint, and we don't really want the handle to look exactly the same as the blade, because that will give the wrong message across. The handle is not something that deals damage. So yeah, after we do the handle, let's focus on the actual blade. Now the blade, as I said before, will be white, and you literally just trace the shape, just like that. Remember to keep it simple. Some weapons can be very detailed. You don't really want that because in RimWorld you won't get a chance to take a look at the weapon that close. You just want a simple shape that says, okay, this is not a spear, this is not a sword. What is it? It's a halberd, okay? And just like that, we'll be making a little bit more complex shading on it. Again, not too complex because you don't want it to take away the attention too much. Just so people can see where the metal possibly bends and to give this halberd tip a bit more 3D kind of shape. And now that this is done, what we'll want to do is we will want to do a little wrap around the actual handle, just to give this more authentic feeling that you don't want people to grab, the metal bar. You want them to wrap some leather, perhaps. So we're just doing a very rough shape, rough representation. I'm doing it in white right now, but we'll recolor it to brown a little bit later. And just like that, as I promised, we just recolored it. Now what we'll do is we'll add a little bit more shading to it, just so it looks, again, a little bit more realistic. Now this element, you probably wonder, why is it brownish and not white like everything else? That is because this will have a mask applied to it and it will not be colored in-game. So no matter what resource you make the weapon out of, this handle will always be brownish. We want to apply a different outline to it, a little bit thinner than the actual weapon outline. And just like that, the outline is in place. And now we can focus on giving everything else an outline. And just like that, in just a few minutes, we've got the halberd ready. Now we need to position it on the artboard. So we probably want to rotate it a little bit, and it still doesn't quite fit. So what we'll do is we will tweak the dimensions. Again, it doesn't need to be realistic. I know halberds in real life are much longer than that, but this is RimWorld and there is a certain size the weapon can be of, so we can just shorten it a little bit. You can say that it looks more like an axe now, but it doesn't, because that's how the game works, okay? So you bend the proportions to your liking, just so it still works for the game, and just as long as it's still recognizable in the game, it's fine. If you make it too long or, you know, too thin, it won't be visible and it will be difficult for the player to ascertain what weapon this is. And now we'll be doing the mask. So we access the artboard tool, and while holding Alt, we just drag it across. This copies the entire artboard. Now what we want to do is we want to remove everything that's not meant to be colored, that's meant to be colored, and only leave the thing that's not meant to be colored, and we make it black. Just like that. Now we need to make the outline a little bit thinner, just like that, and everything else becomes red. Now red in code is the color that will have the mask applied to it, so red is the color that will change depending on the material stuff, and the black will remain the same no matter what. Okay, let's move on to the next weapon, which is claymore. I've got the vanilla gladius in here, so we'll just be playing around with it, trying to make the gladius into a large two-handed sword. It follows essentially the same idea as me making the halberd, so I think it's best if I just shut up and let you watch it, okay? Okay, now we're making this large warhammer. Again, it's very simple. We try to follow the same theme across all the weapons. So we're doing this little brown handle. Work smart, not hard, and wherever you can actually reuse assets you made previously. So what I'm doing right now is I took the halberd, I removed the blade, and we'll just replace the blade with the hammerhead, just like that. There's nothing wrong with that, and in my eyes it just adds some consistency to all your artworks. I have a massive collection of all my artworks easily available for me, so whenever I'm making something I always take a look, oh, have I done something similar before? If I have, I just work with what I have, you know? There's no need to spend extra 5 or 6 hours making something if you've done it before. Unless you've done it for somebody else, like a client, then you obviously need to ask for permission first. Okay, now we'll be working on items that are not actually stuffed, so we'll be doing the spacer weapons. I found some images on Pinterest, I really like them and I think they fit the theme pretty much. They look like what the weapon clearly meant to look like from the original artwork. So again, we don't want to trace it exactly the same way, we want to make something inspired, more or less. You don't need to use black and white anymore because this stuff isn't going to be masked in-game, so you can just use authentic colors. Same way the vanilla plasma sword and the Zeus hammer, they all use different colors because they are not colored in-game. Now again, you can see me copying and pasting in some reference images from actual game. I did it just to get the ultra tech kind of color right, the bluish tint. And I use it not only for the little buttons on the blade or the little energy source, let me call it, but also for the blade, and I think it gives this ultra tech feeling that the original author was going for. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I want to give some kind of sci-fi glow to this weapon, so I go into effects and I go into stylize. Okay, and in stylize I go to outer glow. Now we need to change the color because we don't want the glow to be black, so we just go with the rough blue color. We'll change the blur, we'll make it a little bit higher, and we'll change the mode as well to normal. Now whack the opacity all the way to 100 and just work with the blur, and there we go, we've got a nice glowing sword. Okay, now I'll let you watch the rest of this tutorial, and if you have any questions at all, just feel free to ask them in the comments section. I'm here for you, I can help you anytime you want on anything you want. And that's about it for this tutorial. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you learned how to draw your own melee weapons in vanilla style. Next up, we'll probably focus on some animals, because we are working on a little collaborative project about animals nearing extinction, so this will be something to look out for. Now, if you want to know more about the mods that we're working on, please check us out on Patreon. It's only $1, and you get access to a whole lot of stuff. So you get access to development blogs, you get access to live streams. Well, no live streams yet, but they're coming. But again, yeah, just go onto the Patreon and just check out what great stuff we are working on. And thank you all very much.